folks. What do you know? Hello, Lou. Hiya, baby. Say, Benny, I got a new song. You don't mind if I use the piano, do you?
Go ahead.
Papa.
My invention is
Sit down, you fat bitch.
Listen, you...
Sit up.
Morton Downey Jr., I only hope you can be as famous as your famous dad.
Just one other question. How much further can it go?
It became a cartoon.
America is at a crossroads. We must advance or perish.
Glenn Beck, Hannity, O'Reilly, they're all people saying, you know, what's in their heart.
I think Glenn Beck has become big because he's the only one telling the truth.
Morton Downey is the folk hero of the United States.
He stands up for what he believes in.
He captures the heartbeat of America.
My audience finally selected a spokesman that identifies with their needs and with their dreams and with their frustrations. I love those people. I'll do everything to protect them.
I was the programmer who started MTV.
If indeed we have 60 channels of television available to the American public 24 hours a day, everything that there is a significant interest in ought to be represented. What's curious to me is a lot of the critics say, oh, we shouldn't offer that. I mean, that's like saying we're only going to put these 20 books in the library because those are the only ones we can all agree upon are good books.
MTV shook up what TV could be. We refused to live within the boundaries of what was thought of as TV.
Good evening. It's time once again to play chicken. My name is Joe Pine. We'll test your nerve in just a moment.
But I didn't want to be Mr. MTV my whole life. I was 30 years old, 31 years old, and looking for more fun things to do that I had never done before.
With us now is Jerry Rubin. He advocates disobedience of law.
So I set out to find a new talk show. We started talking about, remember the Joe Pine show from the 60s? No show like that on TV anymore.
I dislike the fact that you went to Cuba as Castro's guest. You consort with the enemies of this country. This alone is reason enough to consider you a menace.
Taking a hard and fast opinion.
You are a disruptor.
Driving the opinion home.
Are you willing to hear my views?
No politeness.
I think this is a circus and that you're a fool and that we're not in any way discussing.
You're a liar and a danger to the country.
Often, you go back and recycle an idea, update an idea. But it's dependent upon finding the person. Mort had been around radio, talk radio.
Morton Downey Jr. Now, Morton, I was on this guy's so-called conservative radio show. I resent the charges you made saying that I was a disgrace to the conservative cause, that I didn't know what I was talking about. You are the one, baby, who are a conservative come lately. You're the phony. You're the guy.
Mort just understood performance.
Now, do you want to hear some facts? I'm the same kind of phony, Wally. I'm the same kind of phony. If you want to let me answer, I'm the same kind of phony that you are.
How you turned everything into something theatrical.
Don't warn me, punk.
We met Morton in person, and we go, he could be good. He was good on the radio, but just made for television.
Well, good evening, everybody. How are you? I'm Morton Downey Jr., and as you're going to find out in the weeks, months, and years ahead, certain things really burn my buns, all right? One thing that's happening is the morality of this country is on a low ebb, and it's getting lower. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. We're going to examine this topic tonight.
And this is where the risers that you guys sat in were, and he would start kissing, like, the first row of ladies.
Mort just sort of tapped right into that 17-year-old male, you know, something.
Where other 17-year-olds might be doing other stuff at night. I mean, we were driving to Secaucus to go out to the Morton Downey Jr. show.
It was a provocative show to deliberately provoke the guests and provoke confrontation, and he took it further than anyone that was on television.
There's a war going on in the streets of America, a war on drugs and the slime that sell them to our kids. Former Congressman Ron Paul, how can you call for something un-American, the legalization of drugs?
Because I detest the use of drugs, and I think we would have a lot less drugs used if they were legal. I think it's part of the American system to let people make choices about their own personal habits.
He knew how to manipulate. He could have been a serial killer.
Do you believe that the government should stay out of our personal business altogether?
Yeah, this
well,
is
happens
correct.
To be my...
Matter of fact, isn't...
All right, that's good, guys. It also happens to be my personal business if I want to kill my 4-year-old kid, right?
No, wait a minute. Wait, you're giving libertarian a distorted explanation.
If you're not tethered to the facts, that's incredibly entertaining. If you can just say anything.
Yeah, you know, you're not tethered to the facts, right, but I will say this. Mort had amazing charisma on the set. He related totally on an emotional level. There's no intellectual level for Mort.
So I'll stick to the issues, pal. If I had a slime like you in the White House, I'd puke on you.
Who's for prohibition of alcohol in this room? Who's for prohibition of alcohol?
I ask the question.
3 people!
He attacked a guest with a veracity that was unbelievable, and people loved him for it. I mean, they loved him for it.
We get high on the ideas of freedom. We get high because freedom... You say no. You have the courage to do it.
I think I detect his voice changing. Maybe his cojones are getting small.
And cut to a commercial, and I said, oh my God.
That's the kind of class act.
And when you're changing channels and you land on that, you tend to stop, like you say, at a car accident and go, oh my God, let me watch this for a minute or two more.
Before that, it was considered very uncool to be that abusive to a guest.
Well, the other side of that was Phil Donahue.
How in the world does a person become a foot model? And could you be one? When we come back in just a moment.
The host would do an interview on the stage.
Do you wear high heels? Hang on 1 second. Let me get some of the folks back here.
Then run through the audience and get their fairly polite questions.
My question's for Herschel. I'd like to know what got you into ballet.
And hear the fairly polite answers.
I need a hint. How do you get your husband to do anything around the house?
You know,
I know what Downey was doing. He was ripping off every single aspect of Joe Pine perfectly.
How do you get the last drops of ketchup out of a bottle?
We learned that TV was out of step with the American public.
What happens? All the ketchup is forced to the next
Very
good.
That America, after Watergate, had given up this false politeness. In the 80s, it was time for it to end.
Quarantine for everyone who has AIDS, even though we know AIDS can only be caught basically in
Do you know something more? Do you know that it has never been proven that AIDS can be sexually transmitted? It has never been proven in a laboratory.
No, I don't know
and
that.
nobody
Because
would
I've
ever
spoken
volunteer
to
for
a
that
number of
experiment.
people at the
It's nuts.
CDC.
I'm in the middle of this. You ought to know that, Mort. I'm in the middle of research, have been for a number of years on it.
Are you a research expert? Are you a research expert?
Shut up and let me answer the question.
Shut up. Are you a research expert? Why don't you shut up? Why don't you shut up? All you're doing is spewing garbage.
I was attracted to that kind of awkward, dangerous atmosphere. When he first came on the scene, I was immediately sort of mesmerized by the show.
A vegan?
A vegan. I abstain.
Let me hear what she has to say here. Let me hear. Go ahead. You abstain from what?
Yes, I abstain from all animal products, including dairy and clothing.
and clothing. I eat raw hamburger.
And what is your cholesterol?
Raw fish. I smoke 4 packs of cigarettes a day.
Well, can I say something?
I have about 4 drinks a day. I'm 55 years old, and I look as good as you do, Vic.
He was in your face. He was take no prisoners.
What the hell is a feminist? I thought anyone who had breasts was a feminist.
There are almost no feminists who have ever burned a bra, so let me get that straight.
There's almost no feminists who ever had anything that they needed to wear a bra for.
Between us, there was a certain amount of sexual tension.
Likewise on your jockstrap, but in any case...
How does she know? She has a tape measure on her tongue?
I was used to being on the McNeil, Laro, or Nightline, where everything was so dignified.
To take up this issue is Alan Dershowitz, a professor of law at Harvard University.
Alexander Hamilton once said that the civilization...
All of a sudden, then, almost as like the yin and the yang, Morton Downey Jr., identifying with a lot of the issues that average everyday people had.
Don't listen to this guy.
Ma'am, listen to Professor Dershowitz.
The prosecutor is not your lawyer.
And you had Downey yelling at these people who you felt like yelling at sometimes.
If I depended on a guy like you, New Jersey's preeminent lawyer, I'd find my ass in the crapper for the rest of my life.
Which is what all the reality shows today are based on.
Who said this guy's New Jersey's preeminent lawyer?
There is that prurient excitement of not nice people.
Intellectual trash like you.
Saying not nice things.
When was the last time you looked in a mirror? It probably cracked.
You weren't quite sure whether it was all set up or whether some of it was set up or whether it was all real.
Creamy homemade taste.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ari Pope.
Almost the first fan letter was from this Catholic high school in New Jersey. Someone invited Mort to go to assembly where they were discussing the Morton Downey Jr. show. Should it be on TV? Shouldn't it be? We arrived at this Catholic high school. They just sworn like he was the Beatles. Mort turned to me and he goes, Jesus Christ. He goes, what's happened? What have I done? I'm a 55-year-old middle-aged guy, and I've got 14-year-old Catholic girls in skirts climbing on the hood of my car. And we all looked at each other and went, something's changed here. And we'd only been on the air for about a month.
Stormy weather, all right? Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather. Since my gal and I ain't together, it's raining all the time.
Mort's father was Morton Downey Jr.
Raining all.
Some people call him the first recording star in America. He had a beautiful voice. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes. And my dad just loved him.
I want to sing for you here today. New one I've called Jericho. Way, way back in the Bible days, though there was no praise or jazz.
Mort's mother was a dancer, one of the Bennett sisters.
Showbiz family, but a sadly broken family.
His father was gone all the time.
The father refused to let the mother have any contact with the son.
I asked him what his mother died of, and he just says alcoholism. He said his father drove her to drink.
So really Mort was denied his mother.
He hated his father. He wanted to say that he sold more records than his father.
Listen to this one. This is his first record, his debut.
picked out an old standard to bring back. Will it be a hit or a miss?
My dad was always trying to be a singer, and, you know, he didn't have my grandfather's voice.
I walk along the street of sorrow, the boulevard of broken trees, where gigolo and gigolo can't take a kiss without regret, so they forget the broken tree.
What did you think of Morton's first effort on
I
record?
loved it.
You like it?
I really did. I thought it was just wonderful, and I'm so glad that they picked an old song for him. He's got a very new type voice, modern. Well, no, but he's very modern in his style.
Now, did this young man impress you as a vocalist?
Impressed me very much. I don't think he sounds anything like his father. He has a much bigger and much deeper voice than his father.
Dean!
Oh.
Did I wake you? I'm sorry.
No, I was just thinking about this record. But they didn't give this boy a chance, you know.
Why? What do you mean, Dean?
This kid sings better than he does on a record, you know. You'd know it, because they were rushing him, and this is his first record. They stuck him in that echo chamber. They overdid it, you know. I think that the old man should have been there.
All right, Morton Downey Jr., I only hope you'd be as famous as your famous dad, because he was an all-time great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morton Downey Jr.
Somebody sent in an old Time magazine from like 1932 or 33 where the old man was on the cover of Time. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And someone mailed it and thought he might enjoy it, and I gave it to Mort. And I realized he had some big issues there.
He had a domineering father. I think he had a real reaction to that.
Mort was obsessed with saying, I'm more famous than my father. I'm more famous. I'm more famous. I make more money. You know, more Americans have seen me. And when I came back an hour later, it looked like confetti.
My dad was always trying to live up to his father, I think.
If you think primetime sitcoms and soaps are a snooze, and the movies bore you to tears, then watch the man who will excite you and incite you. Morton Downey Jr. Weeknights at 9 p.m. on Channel 9.
Often, the self-destructive people are really entertaining.
The Morton Downey Jr. show has been garnering the highest of ratings in the New York market. Starting Monday, the rest of the country will be able to sample his particular brand of television.
It happened so fast. My God, he just arrived there. Usually you build these things up year after year after year.
Morton Downey Jr. just got his show syndicated.
Well, I wish he had the same voice that his father had.
He was on all the magazine covers. He was an icon already. Within a matter of months.
I have watched his show, and I personally would never be on it. He has what you can only describe in his audience as a lynch mob.
This is not Oprah, this is not Phil. This is Morton Downey, okay? Let's try it again. Good evening, everybody! Welcome to the Morton Downey Jr. Show!
They would let you in like a few people at a time to make sure they're getting a good mix of people in each area.
First you cared about just getting into the studio, and then you cared about getting the good seat.
So let's have a good time, let's rock and roll. You ready?
The liberals! That's what you're talking
This guy wants a job!
You needed the aisle seat to be able to get to the mic.
You'd almost feel your heart pounding, ready to go in there and like mix it up with everybody.
My dad was backstage bouncing around, just getting so worked up, just so excited.
Well, we'd have this big boom, boom, boom drum beat, right?
The minute he walked into the studio, it was like his cells started vibrating.
Morton high fives the people that are closest.
grabs a pretty gal and gives her a big kiss. That energizes him. That, you know, he's taking their energy. Smoking cigarettes, as if he needed any more stimulation.
And then he would explain what the topic was going to be that night.
In Shakespeare, you have iambic pentameter. It follows a beat. But sometimes there is something in there called a caesura, which is a pause.
Hey, Mom, do you know where your teenager is tonight? Is he just hanging around, huh? You know, let me tell you something.
He wrote these pauses in because the audience was going to be yelling, "Kill the guy, I'm as mad as you are."
I'll tell you what I'd do to him. Should we hang this kid? You betcha! Die!
The atmosphere was alive with the energy of the audience.
Join us and take that chair, sir. No. I'd appreciate not doing that.
It's back when, you know, where else did you see Americans being passionate about capital punishment?
Every member in the audience was happy to stand up at the quote-unquote loudmouth and say his or her piece.
I want to know how they would feel if somebody they loved were murdered. I feel that any murder deserves death immediately and none of this baloney.
The law of the land is that before we put somebody to death, we're going to check everything to make sure that it's right. There's another issue.
Is that true? What the hell's the other issue? Tell me the other issue, you Pavlov puking thing.
In his quest to grab America's divided attention, Downey is turning unleashed rage into unlimited ratings.
Why is a show like that so successful? Many people find this audience quite frightening. It's been called the Beast. People have compared it to a crowd gathering at a public hanging.
Mr. Downey, I appreciate that you're trying to make a name for yourself. But
I'm not making a name, you asshole.
Talk shows have always realized studio audiences are important, but he's the first one that has turned them from an audience into a mob.
I am not going to bring myself, nor the citizens of the city...
Then get the hell off the stage! Get the hell off the stage! Get the hell out of here! You're a disgrace!
You had the Roman Colosseum, and you had the crowd saying, "Get out of here, you're boring."
If my producers think that I have to apologize for that, they can go straight to hell. I don't apologize for anything.
Yes, this is Morton Downey Jr. show calling to confirm your 6 tickets for tomorrow evening's taping at 7 o'clock.
You waited, what, 2 months for tickets? Yeah, about that.
We'd look outside, you'd see people tailgating. I remember seeing people snort coke on the hood of a car before they came in.
He's great. He's sexy.
He's not afraid to open his mouth. He's not afraid of anybody.
Tom Shales, I remember the famous TV critic for the Washington Post. I thought he put it best in one of his reviews. He said the Morton Downey Jr. show is a talk show with a hockey audience.
Mort! Let me introduce home base and, of course, our loudmouth. Shut up! I will not go for any of that crap. Zip it a second. Shut up!
What are you laughing about? Just take the pictures.
Bitesy mouth. They say he's not kind.
Halloween evening on the Morton Downey Jr. show. Should they go?
I saw the audience, and the audience was pretty frightening. I was physically hurt, various neck and back injuries. There was clearly a physical assault on us.
I was then known as the Secaucus Slammer. 6 years before the Jerry Springer show. Jerry Springer's not like Mort. He don't got no backbone like Mort had. Mort would go right up in somebody's face and confront them.
You who traded on the United States! You traitor!
This studio was the first in the business to put people through a metal detector.
You know, at the end of the night, you say to the guys, "How you doing?" "Well, we got like 16 knives." 16 knives?
Brass knuckles.
Brass knuckles. Who brings that stuff to a television show?
They were ready for some controversy.
If you guys and the gremlin over there like Japan so much, you can take this place and shove it where it belongs.
It was also sort of perfect for 17-year-olds because it had no nuance at all. Everything was black or white. And 17-year-olds...
We'll get the power cukers!
Everything is either totally one thing or totally the other. There is no middle.
We are America! We're #1!
You know what I think? I think Donald Trump should take his board game and just go to hell.
Kids today can make a goofy YouTube video
I got an American car, and it still runs just fine. Just fine. Stick it up on YouTube, get 10,000 hits, goes viral, and now they're, you know, the flavor of the day. Let's face it, we did it to ourselves, Mort. Whereas in our case, it was very simple. Japan's gonna rule, Mort. Just go on TV, pretend you're somebody you're not, and you got on TV for 5 minutes.
And if Elvis was alive, why don't you book him on the Morton Downey Jr. show once?
I don't want to say it was a cult, because it wasn't a cult, but where do these people come from?
Go ahead, pal.
My name is Joseph McBratney, and I'd like to speak to these two very ignorant men right here.
Shot in Sea Caucus. The Jersey characters are in that audience.
Why?
Because
Why make it worse?
They don't give a shit.
Well, I mean...
Real Housewives of New Jersey and Jersey Shore.
I'm not better than anyone. That's not what I'm saying.
Used this very same confidence, assertion,
Black, white, or Puerto Rican.
that you find in the Jersey character.
We ought to get out and vote, change it, and get these guys out of there.
But before this, you never saw, unless they were on candid camera,
I just don't believe that anyone like that has the right to breathe the same air that I do.
real people on television.
Against American policies, get the hell out of America if you don't like it.
This is the beginning
We've decriminalized cocaine by
of a great
recriminalizing
movement
marijuana.
You're a piece of shit. Of the people of this country.
I don't sell my body.
Taking this country back to ourselves, all right?
You have no remorse right now.
We've sent those people to Washington. They haven't done squat for us.
Mort, I must tell you, you've made at least half a dozen converts in our control room.
Rise up, America! Rise up!
It's clearly entertaining as hell. Beyond that, what is it?
I'm after establishing a platform for the American who has been unheard by his government. Good to see you. How you doing?
Watch you every night, buddy.
Thank you, pal.
He saw himself as
Hi, how are you?
representative of the working man, and that he should be the evocateur who understood their emotions and who helped to express their emotions.
You're right here. That's good. Okay.
Someone like me could be a frightening person. Someone like you could be a frightening person. Most of us, of course, are just average, everyday human beings like my audience is, and we hope that the politicians become frightened of us.
I knew Morton Downey Jr. as Sean. He didn't use his father's name when I knew him in the 60s. On Cape Cod, Morton Downey Sr. had a house out on Squaw Island, which was a hop, skip, and a jump from the Kennedy compound.
That is Morton Downey, the Irish tenor, talking to Mrs. Kennedy. Morton Downey has been a friend of the Kennedy family for years.
So Mort grew up with some of the younger Kennedys.
Now Morton Downey is talking with the president. Brother Robert, Attorney General, next to Morton Downey there.
When Robert Kennedy died, there were so many different ways people expressed their grief. Sean expressed his by writing his small little book of poetry. Its title was Quiet Thoughts, Make the Loudest Noise. I thought that was a rather interesting title.
He was always writing poems. His brain was always going, constantly. You know, it was hard for him to just chill.
Row upon row of grief-racked followers, sunken cheeks, replacing their years ago happy faces, sang proudly for their departed friend, their final hope, and wondered why a man must die to be a hero, and whether we honor only those our own selfish hearts destroy. This is the reception room, and Sean is talking to Joan Kennedy, Ted Kennedy's wife. I'm there in the background talking with someone on the phone. Sean, as usual, was very well dressed. Sartorial splendor was one of his attributes. We had the election for Edward Kennedy to become majority whip in the Senate. And this is the moment we got word that he won. There's Sean in the background. Right here is the senator addressing all of us. Sean standing in the doorway, smiling at him. He supported the issues that Senator Kennedy was supportive of, so he was liberal on a number of things. It was hard to understand, really, how you could have been so for Robert and Edward Kennedy and then be so much against their positions. I was kind of in a quandary.
He was a surrogate for an awful lot of people in representing their views and their attitudes.
Good evening, class.
A lot of working class folks
Hey, welcome to your American history lesson, gang.
had a desire for a conservative point of view.
Sure as hell ain't attended one like this one tonight.
They want to hear it because this is what they believe.
The liberal policies of the Democratic Party have failed for 40 years.
He did fulfill a desire of an awful lot of people because he got a huge audience.
We're not leaving. So if you don't like the Pledge of Allegiance and you don't like prayer, you leave.
Hannity, O'Reilly, Glenn Beck. They're not as crude as Mort was, but they are appealing to that same audience. You talk about the Tea Party today, some of those working class folks are exactly the people to whom he appealed. The angry voices of people left behind.
You see on these shows, we're already mad.
That's why the system is all bottled up.
You might not be, but by the end of this hour, you'll be one of us.
This is a protracted battle, okay? The left views politics as war, and they are engaged 24/7. Their foot is on the gas pedal 24/7. You're not going to convert the left-wing rally, okay? But you're going to convert people individually.
And that's where the Morton Downeys come in. They have an anger that's so magnetic.
From Goldman Sachs to Merrill Lynch, who stole from us, the taxpayers.
It will just pull you to it.
This is the Herman Cain Show live from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Audiences react to conflict. More people will tune in if you've got conflict, and villains lend themselves, and vilifying people lends itself to attracting a large audience.
The liberals, they are frustrated because they can't find a head to this movement to cut off so they can kill it. There's a fine line between passion and anger.
We are going to repeal Obamacare. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. We're going to do it.
Repeal that sucker! Every once in a while, you smile or let them know that you ain't mad at nobody. You're just passionate, that's all.
We want to reach more people. We want to communicate with more people. We want to change hearts and minds out there.
As long as you're upfront about it, that you're not trying to tell your audience you're one thing and then you're actually something else.
$1 billion. Isn't this typical of a left-wing pablum puking?
Your critics would say that your popularity is based on the fact that you're appealing to the worst elements of human nature.
I totally disagree with that.
To jealousy, to anger, to pettiness.
Morton Downey is in the business of implicitly selling its hatred, and people are buying it.
Well, is there something in the nature of television that calls forth characters like this periodically?
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its maximum hour of danger.
Yeah, ratings.
You are that generation. That is your role. This is that moment.
There's always been a longing among, some portion of the American public for somebody who speaks for them.
Oh, the land of the free.
If you speak for these people and allow them to speak their mind, they love you for it.
Morton Downey, our national anthem, of course, his father, a great Irish tenor. Let me ask you, does your dad ever sing the national anthem?
Yeah, Pop sang the national anthem at the Democratic National Convention. God bless him, and I'm sorry that he sang it at the Democratic convention. Too bad I wasn't a Republican.
I mean, how did this happen? And gosh, it's disappointing. I think Senator Kennedy was disappointed. He was kind of put off. Sean would call up and say, did you see the show? And I would say, you know, I had, and I disagreed with everything you said, almost. He would say that he had just evolved.
He worked for many, many years trying to find his niche, figure out where he fit. I remember from the time I was a little kid, him always wanting to sing.
We started a group called Turquoise. It was just he and I. And we did a song called Lonely Man.
Hello, lonely man, sitting all alone in your thick-walled home with
We had our little single and jumped in his van. Traveled all through California, going to radio stations. And they're playing the thing. We had a great time. It was a hell of a trip. I can't really say that he was conservative or liberal. He would seem to go in either direction. Whatever seemed to work at the time.
Mort wasn't gay or anything, but on the road, Lloyd would actually sleep in the same bed with Mort just to keep him company, but they're totally straight.
He really attached himself to me. I was something he could hang on to, almost like his blanket.
He just was always looking for acceptance and for love.
I got a right to live.
He had a record,
I got a right.
and he was touting it. He came to Syracuse, New York. I was a young disc jockey, and he was a character and a half. And I said, why don't you come do the morning show? And he took the job as the morning man.
Thursday on the Mad Lad swing of thing. Morton Downey with you till 8. Our everlasting love.
We were doing Top 40 radio, and we were talking a lot about people who were acting out on television.
Do what you want. You want to walk away? I think
He and I had a little chat about Joe Pine. Remember Joe Pine? Thought he was a jerk. A successful jerk. He got everybody's attention.
We've got to get involved. We've got to get our hands dirty. The only thing that we can do to save these unborn children.
Downey decided that if he could be the person who was outrageous, controversial, he would get the most attention. He was on the air and he started taking phone calls and arguing with people.
The Democratic Party is opposed to life.
After he saw the way people were reacting and acting, he catered to it to be bigger and more popular.
You have reversed the position you took only 6 months ago. Will cause you to come around.
I really want to see how they respond. Right?
He would go over the show with me. He'd go in the cafeteria. He'd eat his food.
Okay, segment 1. You got your segment 1 card?
Get a raincoat for Jeff. A bottle. Every meal was a bottle of ketchup. Exactly. And then he's like, okay, tell me this story. What's the show tonight?
I understand they're talking about taking the new housing, the low-income housing, and placing it in the middle-class neighborhood. Am I correct?
Mort had an audiographic memory.
Everything in the Northeast is lily white.
2 on stage, 3 on Mort.
When you're living in Lily White Pound Ridge.
When he went on the set, he would repeat verbatim.
The obvious question here is, does the opposition to the NAACP suit represent an attempt to keep blacks out of white neighborhoods?
What we had told him 2 hours before.
The obvious question here is, does the opposition to the NAACP represent an attempt to keep blacks out of white neighborhoods?
No, you see, we would figure out, okay, this is going to be your position on this topic.
How come none of those wealthy neighborhoods get some of that housing?
And he would go out there and argue that position like nobody else.
There are 200,000 units, all right?
units available in New York City that are run down, that are beat up.
Maybe.
No, not maybe.
It was a great act.
Oh, please set me because you look homeless.
If you're going to make fun of me, Mort, I don't have to be on your show.
You don't? Good.
No,
Good
you
night.
asked me to be on your show.
Good night.
Mort was arguing with the guy. And then I'm between the two of them, holding, and this guy was furious.
It was almost like he was spitting on you when he was yelling at you sometimes.
The guy's furious. He believes this is going to happen, and he's going to fight with Mort. We walked out the studio, the three of us. We get outside. Mort goes, "You did a great job."
There were times where I would hate to watch the show because it was so violent. I didn't like seeing that side of him, I guess, because that's not the person I was raised with. He was never like that, unless he was on camera.
He played the angry populist.
We call it populism sometimes. I really think it's more envy. All cultures are basically pyramids, and there are very few people on the top. And all the people on the bottom are kind of angry. Why am I not a star? Why am I not?
And the reason I'm not a star is because the system screwed me.
Exactly. It's the system. It's not me.
Yeah, it's the man held me down.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
And we're tapped into that.
Once you've decided on the act, and once you've written down the confines of the act, if you stand out and say, "I'm a tree," long enough, you get leaves.
You have been described as a nice guy who pretends to be a right-wing maniac. Now, what do you find offensive with that statement?
The word pretend.
He did not look like the child of a Hollywood star. He came off, quite frankly, as authentic.
This is what you do in show business. You get people riled up.
It was an act, just the way Sean Hannity is an act, you know. But I was an act too. It's you know, to some degree. You know, I mean, it's television.
You are what people perceive you are, all right?
And
you are, and if you believe I'm a phony, that's entirely up to you. I know I'm telling the truth. I know that I tell the truth about myself. I bet you can't stand in the same mirror I've stood in, baby. I bet you can't.
Hello there, big shot. Making out you got what you ain't got. Putting on an act that even fools yourself. People detest you. You're nothing but a mirror of your own inflated ego. We go through life staring in the self-same glass. What an ass.
Gold watch, gold rings, fuchsia and fur things. If your countenance shines so bright, why the tinsel reflecting your light? Look again, fool. It falls to a narrowing shadow at your sidewalk, clicking heels. How sad the looking glass. That empty stares back and echoes. Hello, big shot.
All right, we've got quite a topic for you tonight, folks. This one's hot. Say hello to David Letterman, folks. All right, give him a chance, give him a chance, give him a chance.
Have you had a dermatologist look at those things on your face?
Wait a second, buddy.
Biopsy.
Send him back to Russia, back to the Ruski.
So I was over at a friend's house. The guy said, "By the way, didn't you know that Morton Downey Jr.?" And I said, "Yeah." "Well, he's got a TV show." So I watched it. And I said, "Holy shit." And so I called him, and he, "Oh, gotta come back and work for me, Lloyd. You can't believe what's happening."
Lloyd was always trying to make it. My dad was always trying to make it. When my dad felt that he really wanted Lloyd there with him.
As you start,
I'd always have my guitar, and I'd pull it out, and we'd start singing folk songs. And he said, why don't we do an album? Morton Downey Jr. sings. I said, sure. I walked in, you know, here's this bumpkin from California, and all of a sudden, I'm next to Mort. I got a weird feeling.
We have some of the kids from the Association to Benefit Children. Are they the homeless of the next generation? Any of you want to come home and live with me in my Doberman Pinscher?
My dad was married to my mother for 13 or so years.
And that's my wife over there. Where's my wife? Kimmy, stand up. Stand up, honey. Stand up.
He was married to Kim for 13 years also.
That's my daughter, Kelly. All right? That's my daughter, Kelly.
That seemed to be the number that it ended, unfortunately.
I moved in with Mort and his wife, Kim, in a house in Englewood, New Jersey. I would sit on the couch with Mort's dog, Senator, with me, working on songs. On the album, coming up with them slowly.
You put this shit in the trunk?
I was going to get a career in music. This would be my catalyst. Every night, we would go out to the limo and then race into the city, and we'd go to Stringfellows or Elaine's.
Summer's gone, and all the leaves have died.
While very much married to Kim, he enjoyed the fact that for the first time in his life, he could get laid pretty much at will because he was on TV.
He was 50, and he was kind of in the suspended,
Right,
adolescence, so he was going for the 20-year-old.
He would take me out to dinner, and a beautiful young woman would be there. It was a very awkward position to be put in, because he wasn't divorced from Kim yet.
I'd kept a diary with the microphone on my little cassette, saying, no, you can't believe what the fuck happened today. I don't think this girl is really interested in you. Shut the fuck up, Lloyd. I'm going to do this anyway.
His then wife, Kim, when we got into the limo, she did kick him in the shins from the other side of the back seat. At which point, he went after her physically, and if I hadn't been there to grab he was going to punch her. I threw him over the hood of the car. I said, you want to take a punch at somebody, take a punch at me. There was some anger towards women. I don't know where that began, but it was there.
I had been invited to do the Morton Downey Jr. show. On the show, it's just strippers and belly dancers. So there she is with her top off. And then it occurred to me, I was better than her. Just took off my top. Oh, wow. They really like me.
We'll be back in just a minute.
He says, you did a good thing. You did a good thing. Now, all of a sudden, he's all happy. Like we're working as a team to create entertainment. Yeah. But now, in the next moment, he's brutalizing me.
I'd love you to try to beat me, honey. I'd show you how to kick the living shit out of a broad.
I'm sick and tired of guys like you calling us bimbos.
Hey, sit down, you fat bitch.
Listen, you sit down. He was like fucking me.
Sit up.
You're saying I can fuck you and I can knock you down.
Controversy for Mort was, you make your living on your back. You don't have the right to exist in this country.
Said the man who loved hookers.
Let me hear Denise. She's been trying to say something.
I just wanted to say that I feel like this business has the potential to show how beautiful the human body is.
You'd meet girls, and he'd say, "You can be my producer."
Where's your microphone?
This girl quit her job. She's got the big blonde hair and the big tits, and she's like, "I'm ready for work." She came into the office in tears. Mort had called her into the bathroom and asked her to hold his penis while he peed.
I remember that too. Unfortunately, I do as well. Yeah, I do.
That was so
And
dark.
that was the really sort of.
Yeah, that was
He was a pathological liar.
Yeah.
But that's who he really was.
The abyss was opening up.
Good afternoon. I'm Ernie Anastas, and here's what's happening. The man. She says she was kidnapped and raped by 6 white men.
Whenever a black woman complains about a white man raping her, the black woman must be penalized.
Tawana Brawley was a teenager who claimed to have been kidnapped by these white guys, some of whom were police officers, and repeatedly raped and sodomized.
They raped her in Wappingers, New York. They wrote racial epithets on her body. They smeared her body with feces, and then they left her for dead.
Al Sharpton and 2 lawyers took over the case.
I have been privileged to be involved in this case. I've been privileged to be an advisor and a spokesman for Tawana Brawley.
There was quite a bit of stir about who had raped her, whether it was true.
I'm not a liar and I'm not crazy. I simply just want justice, and then I want to be left alone.
That was the perfect kind of story for Morton Downey.
It is amazing to me that you could do Morton Downey show and call something I do a circus, but...
Mort and Al Sharpton became very close.
I agree. You always have to have a fat clown.
Okay.
The case is this.
Wait a minute.
We're coming back to the Tawana Brawley case. Stay with us.
They saw something in each other they were using.
Tonight, Reverend Al Sharpton, hero.
Mort saw it for what it was, a ratings grabber.
A brutal racial rape.
It had sex, it had race.
Had it all.
It had it all.
The story is developing every single minute.
We needed material, so we're like, well, let's do the Tawana case again.
I have a new angle on it. I found the box that she was in.
Yeah. I met her sister.
Yeah.
Mort Downey certainly squeezed every bit of blood and rancor out of Tawana Brawley's story.
My name is Stephen Pagonis. I am the individual who was accused of rape and kidnapping of Tawana Brawley. Not only did I not have anything to do with Tawana Brawley, but there was absolutely no evidence to support these outrageous allegations.
Tawana Brawley's advocates would have been laughed out of any grand jury. There are no repercussions for making yourself look like a total fool on talk television.
So he can identify with himself.
So it was a perfect vehicle.
I'm tired of the American big. You ain't nothing. You a punk faggot. Now come on, do something. You ain't nothing. Why don't you shut up? Yelling at your old ladies. Yell at me, punk.
We made Al Sharpton.
100%. Yes, we did. Yes.
So let me give you a challenge. Everybody.
I remember hearing Morton Downey represent that I would be on his show the next day if Sharpton agreed to bring Tawana Brawley the next day.
Why don't you have Stephen Pagonis?
Why don't you
I'll
bring
Tawana. I'll bring Tawana. Zip it and tell me what day.
I want him here tomorrow.
Whispers around there were Reverend Al Sharpton's going to be hit, and he's bringing Tawana Brawley. And we waited and waited and waited. To pass the time, Mort was making an album called Morton Downey Jr. Sings. And he said he had his guitarist friend there who was helping him with this album, and if we wouldn't mind, would we mind listening to some of these songs? We sat there listening to probably one of the only Morton Downey Jr. concerts. It's a shame the tape wasn't running that day.
There's a brand new name that's sweeping across America. Morton Downey Jr. talking, this is game. He's rude and crude, polite and nice, says just what he thinks. But there's Oprah, Phil, and Johnny, and he puts them all to shame.
And a lot of the audience had to leave after a couple hours because they eventually wound up standing us up.
Saying any damn thing he wants, from the sea to shining sea.
Al, you told me the next day Tawana Brawley would be here.
Don't touch my hand. From miles around they come in droves, rich and poor, young and old. See America, the blue collar king.
I went up to Sharp and I said, "What's wrong with you, Al? How could you say?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. It's good for me. It's good for your ratings. Good for everybody. Relax."
He knew
That's exactly what he said to me.
I spoke to Pagonis. He was more than willing to be here.
In fact, nobody ever called me or asked me about it.
It's kind of a Joe McCarthy-esque thing. Like when you watch McCarthy in films, you actually can see him get excited.
Prosecute communists.
There are 30 communists in the House of Representatives. No, no, no. There are 60 communists in the House of Representatives. No, there are 90. It's sort of a wave that people like to get caught in.
We understand Mr. Downey can now be almost coming at a theater near you. Right? You're taking it on the road.
We're opening at the Apollo Theater in a few weeks.
We did the show at the Apollo Theater. The premise was Tawana Brawley.
When he went that far, there was no release of the tension. If you've ever been in a riot, I have been in one. I was in one on The Downey Show.
Cool it and sit down, please. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Stanley Crouch. I'm a writer. Mr. Sharpton, you have been criticized by every black persuasion of leadership in New York.
Once it starts, it's hard for people to get out of it. And they can't get out of it until they're actually spent.
It was alleged that she was made all over with feces. Lie. Yeah, that's a lot of crap. Now, look, brother, you have your time. That's a lot of crap. Brother, hold on. Hold on.
Get him out of here. Please, get out of here. God bless you and thank you for being my friend.
Take it easy. I'm going to make it take it easy, all right?
I said to myself, this has gone too far now.
This is only a fucking talk show. What the fuck is wrong with
Give me an open mic. Going to continue with the show.
Downey was saying to the audience,
We're not going to give the press a chance to
say that we're a bunch of idiots. After he said that, he ran off stage, got me on the phone and said, Boggs, God damn it, we need some publicity for this. I can't get these people riled up all night.
From the outside, it looked like a fight.
It's a nice boy.
From the inside, it looked like a party. Eventually, it turned out that she hadn't been kidnapped.
This is no hoax. It is the ugly truth.
The grand jury concluded she made up some horrific story. She did some horrific things to herself.
There was no evidence that a sexual assault was committed.
It's very difficult to sit down with your children, especially when 3 of them are girls, and explain to them there were people who were accusing your daddy of being a monster.
He was the #1 guy on television, and we hadn't talked in a long time. And he said, hey, pal, you got to come up here.
Check this place out, all right? Let's see. Are you going to do your show?
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, if I go trash. He got very self-centered. He orders whiskey sours. I don't drink. He then called some girls to come to the room. I don't womanize. I was a married guy and I was faithful.
He went into the rehearsal hall, and there were the chorus girls rehearsing.
They're all giddy because Morton Downey Jr. walked in, and I was, of course, with him and feeling like a real hot shit.
With the young couple sitting here.
He picked out Lori.
She had beautiful blue eyes. She was, you know, a struggling dancer. I was like, what are you doing?
Kelly, say something intelligent if you can.
I don't know if she was playing hard to get or if she really in the beginning wasn't interested, or if that was part of what made her so appealing to him.
From then on, it was Lori, 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 Lori. He didn't care about anything else. The producers would say to me, what is she trying to do? And I said, I don't know that she realizes that he is totally obsessed.
She was the cause of a lot of heartache for Kim because he started cheating while very much married to Kim.
Who predicted I'd get divorced? Oh, yeah. My ex-wife is watching the show tonight. He gave me 10 great years, and I enjoy them. So. But watch what I do with the next 10, baby.
His whole life at that time was trying to please Lori. One time somebody said, well, she's just trying to get his money. Mort was purchasing a multi-million-dollar condo. Lori's going to have her knickknacks here, and I'm going to put this, and we're going to do this and this and this.
Lori's dressing table, the stuff that Lori wants will go here.
Yet Lori, she didn't care about the money.
One beautiful tall blonde comes with the apartment.
The bills were piling up.
1, 2, 3, last statues.
He owed $50,000 to this credit card company. And he said, oh, fuck it. And he'd grab the bill and just throw it in the trash.
And we have the clown mask there. How are you, sir?
He didn't like to talk about anything somebody could call him on.
Fuck away from me.
He'd just go into a rage.
Hey, what kind of... You pull a sneak up, better shit on someone else, cocksucker.
He would always, after these episodes, he'd say, no, I let you down. I shouldn't have done that.
That's tough shit. You want a kind of prick that I am? I'll rip your fucking lungs out, motherfucker. Try me.
I'll touch whatever I want.
Get him, Morton. Tell him, Morton. Try me, you cunt-lipped bastard.
It was sad to find a man that talented who could not control himself. I tried to appeal to the logic of, at the end of the day, Morton, I have other things in my life. I have other ways to make money. I do make money in other ways. This is your life.
He just needed the money.
He used to do these weekend gigs where he,
I remember, yeah.
where he made more money doing that than he did the show.
Go to college after college, and we felt like rock stars. When we had our small plane, we would travel everywhere. Mort said, I did this at 21, before I knew him, when he was a younger man. Now, I couldn't believe all these people thought he was the blue-collar king.
Missouri is called the show-me state, right? What really burns your butt, baby?
It's people putting the American flag on the ground and stepping all over it.
How about you, ma'am?
I am so irritated that we let foreigners come in and buy up our farmland in western Kansas.
He could get people screaming, he could get them crying.
We need to support one another and be Americans. This is the greatest nation on this side of heaven.
We went out of the back of the theater, and my God, there's a whole mob.
At the University of Pittsburgh, there were 5,000 people in the audience. crowd's roaring. It's like a rally at Nuremberg, you know. More. And instead of doing the show, Mort walks out there, and pardon my French, and he goes, "Hey guys, you want to see what a 60-year-old guy is blanking these days?" It brings out Laurie. And I can see people talking to each other, and then the promoters in my face going, "This isn't why they're here." On a plane back, I was seated next to a grand poobah of advertising for Domino's Pizza. She goes, "Oh, you are so totally our audience. Why don't you advertise?" "Because I don't want the name Domino's on the screen the day that idiot you work for blows himself up."
You really want to fight it out with the advertisers. At a certain point, how do you defend stuff?
We stopped being able to book legitimate guests, remember?
We did. Because if you had an opposing view, it was Mort and 180 people in the audience against you.
Standing here, I'm a servant of the Almighty.
Please tell us.
I seek refuge in God from the rejected Satan in name of God.
Isn't that the song? I wanted the clowns to be constantly funny. Have I stayed too long at the fair?
Have I stayed too long at the fair?
It got less real as time went on. It became a cartoon. At the beginning, it was. And later on, it became Avatar.
I didn't think the show was sleazy. I didn't.
Some people in this world are different. I happen to be one of those different people. I'm just as worthy as any other person, even though I'm different.
May I remind you of the homeless woman who was a double amputee that played the Star-Spangled Banner with her tongue from a gurney.
That was towards the end. That was towards the end.
And we loved it.
That was
Music has stopped, and the children must go now. Have I stayed too long at the fair?
Are we rolling downhill like a snowball that's headed for hell?
The idea is to be an attractive figure on television.
Have we deepened the crack in our beautiful Liberty Bell?
So that you can change minds and ultimately policy.
Is a Ford still a car?
Can you let the entertainment value run away into the fever swamps? And I think you might have seen some of that with my old friend Morton.
I got in a fierce argument with Morton. That was about the time I left. When I said, "Mort, if you could just keep it in your pants, literally and figuratively, you could be the center square on the Hollywood squares until the day they put you in the ground, and you don't have to blow up the show."
Mr. Mayor, now, what I want to know, and what these people want to know, and what America wants.
We have to come into another segment.
What in the fuck am I doing here? Are we on the air?
We've been taping.
Mort didn't want to hear when he was wrong. I guess it's a little like Elvis. You know, those people that are around him. Hey, you shouldn't be taking those drugs. Fuck you, you're not working anymore.
Record this. Record this. Record it.
As someone who went through a similar kind of experience, you don't think it's ever going to end when you're in the midst of it. Will you move to replace that man who's on top, not caring who's hurt, too cruel to stop? God help you, blind man, with eyes that see, but cannot cry. How foolish you are. You too must die.
Mort broke up with Kim and moved into Trump Tower. Sitting at Trump Tower one time, He said, I gotta do something big. And I said, oh, shit.
Start spreading the news. Did you get the
Hey, Mark, what are you looking at?
Mark.
Huh?
We're in the movies. We are. I'm going to show this to Morton. I'll put you on television.
The live shows where we would travel around, we would cut down to like 3 shows a month.
And the middle class of this country has been victim too fucking long.
Morton and I flew to Denver and then San Francisco.
Fuck me, I wouldn't fuck you with his dick.
We're taking our streets back away from all these minorities, away from all these jungle bunnies.
Fight for all of
That's what the skinheads are doing and the white area resistance. We fight for white America.
Then you are white shit. You are white shit. White shit.
At the San Francisco airport, I watched him walk into the men's room. I walked down here and I hear the voice go, Lloyd, Lloyd, where are you? And I said, Mort, where are you? So I walked down about 3 or 4 stalls, opened the door. Oh my God. Security, security. Morton Downey Jr.'s in there and he's been attacked by skinheads.
I said, oh my gosh, I said, it's terrible. I said, well, don't talk to the press until we figure out what the story is. And he says, well, there's a problem. He called me from a room with all the press already in the room.
First, one guy yelled, kill her, and the other guy just started cutting my hair off.
So I'm watching on TV. I said, gee, this sounds so strange. Doesn't sound right. Immediately had the flashback that it was like a Tawana Brawley round 2.
Mort called me. I just got jumped by a bunch of skinheads. I'm screwed. What you got to do is, you got to get a private jet to fly me back. I can't fly commercial.
We landed and then he rushed to Trump Tower.
Day by day, we learn a little more about the case of Tawana Brawley.
She crawled into the bag.
Witnesses said they saw her climbing into the plastic bag in which she had been found.
We drive to Trump Tower, and there's Donald Trump in the lobby, and he liked Morton. What happened?
It's not a surprise.
What happened? Oh, my God. Take him up to my suite.
The album was just out. They just shipped 250,000 copies.
Hey there, Mr. Dealer. You drug-pushing son of a bitch.
I knew if this went across America, which it did, it hit the wire service, just went across everywhere. Then people were saying, he's just a phony sleaze, you know, what is this crap?
The garbage of our land. The devil is awaiting just to welcome you to your eternal promised land.
He claims that he was attacked by 3 neo-Nazi skinheads.
Police are not so sure. There were no skinheads to be found in the area. His ratings are dying. Everyone knows that.
Just relax your heart there.
Mort went in to do lie detector tests, and they walked out and they said, boy, he passed that with flying colors.
I found him in the stall. I came in the bathroom. Yeah, Mort, where are you? We got to go. We got 10 minutes to catch a plane. What's going on? And I pushed the door. He was leaning up against it. Opened the door, and I said, what the hell happened to you?
I understand why a woman doesn't report she's raped anymore, all right? I understand what you go through.
We have a member of the New York State community made up a story like this. Tawana Brawley, remember that? And I can't help but liken this story to hers.
The New York Post just happened to call. You hear what happened to Downey? I said, what? Told the whole skinhead routine. And I said, oh, I'd be suspicious.
Langan said, this is all bullshit.
Jim Langan, I fired him. He has said that he is going to sell a story on me if I let him go. I never reported his cocaine use or anything else.
Well,
Try explaining that to my kids who watch it on TV.
Fiance Lori Krebs, are you standing by your man?
I sure am, 100%.
He's innocent, huh?
Lori made the statement to me, if I ever find out that this was a lie, I'm going to leave him.
We all said, this is too crazy. It's out of control. Yes, we could make money, but I didn't want to spend the rest of my life as Morton Downey's babysitter. And I don't think it's healthy for him either.
That was the shark jumping.
Yeah, that was the end of his career. He had a couple more reincarnations, but that was it.
He rose like a rocket, and he fell like a stick.
And then he went down almost as fast as it went up.
His star power plummeted enormously.
As he would say, you know, the money was on the dresser. I was done with the guy.
Morton Downey Jr. show was the fastest rise and fall in the history of television. Seven years after the incident, I was in California, and I called Lloyd, and I said, can I come and see you? So I drove up the West Coast, and I had a wonderful lunch with him. We had a few drinks, but it was a method of my madness, and I said, well, what's the story? What happened in the airport?
Mort said, I got the plan, Lloyd, I got the plan. I actually threw up. I was so sick over how he was going to destroy not just his career, but my career. The next day, we stopped at a 7-Eleven to get some scissors. I can remember the orange handles, and a black felt pen. And I thought, oh, shit.
How sad, the looking glass.
Some words will cut like a knife.
God help you, blind man.
This is no hoax.
We honor only those our own selfish hearts destroy.
He was wearing these pants and this shirt. And I think you can notice that the swastika is not done, as a matter of fact, doesn't even look like a swastika. The rip is right here, where he said they grabbed him, but I believe it was a scissor cut. Maybe I'll sell it on eBay one of these days.
Believe me, if we wanted a publicity stunt, we'd have done a whole lot better than this.
Right.
I mean, it was just unbelievable. I have never seen him that way before, and there was hair all over.
Why I did it, I don't know. I'm thinking of my career. I hate myself for doing it in hindsight, but I did it. After a while, he believed that it really happened.
Next thing I knew, I was reaching for something blunt that I felt against my face.
That's why he didn't have any trouble passing the lie detector test.
You know, it's really hard to resurrect it sometimes.
I don't think it had anything to do with saving his show, picking up sponsors. If anything, it would just do the opposite.
Lloyd said Mort did it to make Lori feel sorry for him.
It was almost like the injured person, take care of me, my love. I need you to come into this world of mine. If Lori sees this, she's probably going to be really pissed at me. But maybe in Lori's heart, she knows I'm telling the truth. And I'm not lying now.
Let me ask a question of our audience here. How many of you have ever seen this? You know what this is?
So if you say, what's the worst thing about it is, I was associated with someone that by giving him a forum and giving him a chance to be a celebrity, hurt himself.
Robert Pittman, an executive with Mort's show, and he sent Mort to hear about an amusement park company that designs rides named after celebrities.
Building attractions around personalities.
Sounds to me like that could be something that could disappear real fast. A celebrity today and a zero tomorrow.
That's true, except that I think you're here to stay. I think you're entering superstar status.
My regret is Mort would have been in a better place as a human being
This we envision as being interactive.
if he had never had that opportunity.
You've been had, man. This is
Sure, I'll be damn well.
bloopers and practical jokes!
The first time I really got reconnected with Sean at all, it was announced that he had lung cancer.
We talked. I felt terrible, but in the back of my mind, you always had to wonder, was it true?
I don't know if a show like this has ever been done with someone having surgery the next day to save his life and the doctor performing it and all of it live and people calling in. I really salute you, Mort, for agreeing to this. This is
I
not...
salute you for letting us do this.
It's a hunger. I mean, would you have a lung operation and then go and be on Larry King? Would you do that? Would you call that sane?
I know he's going to beat it. I know he's going to beat it, and I'm really proud of him.
I've heard from so many people, but the biggest surprise of all was I got the most beautiful letter from Edward Moore Kennedy, Teddy Kennedy, who he and I have been politically fighting, as you know, for 15 years.
Sean popped in the office, which I hadn't expected. All of a sudden, he walked in the door, and there he was, and I just gave him a big hug. And he was in coat and tie and did a lot of thinking about what mattered to him.
Now I've got lung cancer, and I could die. What really bothers me is I won't be around to see my 2.5-year-old grow up and say, no, smoke.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, American Lung Association friends, like 3,000 kids every day, I began smoking at the age of about 13. And to think I was a role model for cigarette-smoking youth, even signing my name on their cigarettes.
It was really hard for him because that whole smoking thing was, you know, another part of that personality.
To that generation, I beg your forgiveness. May the next generation have kinder and wiser role models than I was.
Thank you, thank you.
He was a better person than when I first met him. More conscientious, less full of crap.
He called me and said they're going to take out a lung. And I said, holy shit, take out a lung?
Are you scared?
Yeah, I am. But a lot of your people write me nice letters, and I've got a lot of nice friends, and I keep working. I work every single day.
You're going to watch your girl grow up, Mort.
Thank you.
Morton Downey Jr.
It just killed me because I really loved him. You know, I really did. You love him or you hate him. Well, I kind of did both.
You were the king of controversial television. What do you think about what's going on television today?
Oh, Bobby, it's all entertainment, and there's nothing wrong with entertainment. That's not reality.
In having advocates for civil rights, for women and minorities.
Reality is having a fight on the Downey Show with Al Sharpton. Reality is presenting Gloria Allred to the world for the first time, Professor Alan Dershowitz.
Perhaps he'd done something important that went beyond a television show.
I was sitting home one day and the phone rang and I was shocked. It was Morton Downey calling me in a low, weak voice.
To single out Israel for criticism is anti-Semitism.
It is
to
not
consider it compared.
That is the cry, Alan.
He just wanted to remind me of our earlier days, ask me if there's anything I needed from him before he departed this world. I told him that I thought he had contributed a lot to television for unrepresented and disenfranchised people.
Tell me what you did, tell me what you'll do.
He seemed to appreciate hearing that, particularly, he said he didn't hear that so often from people like me.
I was there for a week while he was in the hospital. He was on life support, and I couldn't really tell if he knew I was there.
And then Lori called me and said he's gone.
Lori Downey, the widow of Morton Downey Jr. When is the funeral, Lori?
It's on Saturday.
Open to the public?
Yes. Yeah.
He was the blue-collar king, and the people loved him. So I was surprised there weren't more people there. Gloria Allred was there. maybe Jim Langan, maybe Bill Boggs, maybe some of the producers at WOR, but maybe they were so angry at him.
You know, the question's always asked why people responded actively to certain people throughout history. People responded to the Beatles and no one knew why. Was it their long hair? To Elvis Presley. Some people who have no other word for it call charisma.
I would have kicked your fucking nuts out!
Someone said I was the first rock and roll star to come along without music.
I'll make Al Sharpton look like a piece of shit the way I take care of you!
That's interesting. Maybe that's true.
Mort's legacy is easy to describe. Mort's legacy is passion plays on television, even if it's an act.
It's a free market, and you got to ask yourself, the people obviously want what they're getting, or they'd be getting something else.
They had a lot of balloons outside. It was just a beautiful day. I sang, I can see clearly now the rain is, and they let loose all the balloons, and that was the end of Mort.
Obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds.
Those programs do appeal to certain audiences. I'm not questioning the right of those shows to run on the air. From my standpoint, integrity and quality still have a place in the American home.
I'm going to stop you both because we're down about 45 seconds and I want to get a final comment. Is this a passing fancy or is this the front of the wave?
Talk show, he broke a chair with his nose. Al Capone looked on with a grin, and every lonely housefrau and sofa-bound cow watched Oprah before she turned thin. Richard Bay dug drag queens, Sally saved troubled teens, but politics wasn't the thing. After Downey's debut, we asked Donna who? A new mouth had become our king. Morton Downey, not the singer. Talk show icon, predated Springer. Al and Tawana, Bush and Dukakis. At the Loudmouth in downtown Secaucus.